All right. Okay, let me do just a couple of things really quickly. Yeah, all right. Let's see here. There's a lot of things I forgot to do today. All right, so we're live. That's all good. Make sure I can see the chat really quickly. Okay. Might do a poll or a Q&A. But all right, so that's all good. That's going there. Can close this. Okay, so we're live. I think everything is going. I think it's all going. So I'm gonna just, warm up a little bit. This is what I'll be warming up with for just a few minutes. Probably just go through all the bio exercises one more time. Maybe just to inspire anyone out there that doesn't practice their bio too much. We'll just go over this for about a few minutes, and then we'll get started. So on this, I know that's not what this stream is about. We'll get to the main topic in just a moment. But I really like as much volume as I can push out of this. It's just become very addicting for me. So yeah, it's good right there. That's this, exercise 1. Played that a bit. This one, so yeah, this is a good one. So plays a little bit faster for probably a few more minutes. So so that's that one. Not really that one, but a bit of that one. This one, forget it. This one, maybe 1 or 2 cycles really quickly, so. bit faster. All right, so there's that one. There's, might as well play this once or twice, so. Okay, all right. Now we'll get started. Little extended intro right there. So, today, as the title says, day 2 of beginner tabla lessons. All right, so we're going to continue where we were yesterday or where we left off. I gave some bowls and things like that. And by the way, if you haven't seen that stream, go ahead, check it out. I just uploaded a cut version of it in the video section. If you want to see the whole thing live, I did miss a little bit of it when I was recording. Then you can go ahead and watch the live as well. There's a lot of other stuff in the live though, but yeah. So today's day 2. So yesterday, we covered the basic bowls, you know, nothing too complicated, but, you know, we did cover them. We covered na, we covered dhin a little bit, this one, all right, we covered tete, we covered tun, namaste to you in the chat as well, and I said we already covered dhin. So yeah, that's basically what we covered. We covered na, and on the bio we covered ga and ga, just like that. So 1 and 2. We covered how to play na. You know, you line up like this, just turn with the wrist movement, just like that. You want to keep the right positioning like this. Be strict about how you play na, guys. All right, that's the one thing. If you're trying to learn tabla on your own, there's really 2 things actually I noticed. 1, getting this na right. 2, play loudly. All right, I don't play too loud because this is a digital system. It can only have a certain limit to its loudness, but play loudly. Now, I don't know if you guys can really tell that I'm playing loudly, but listen for that impact. That's what you really want. Your tabla playing won't have the right feel to it unless you don't practice loudly. So that's kind of what we covered. And now we're in day 2. And if all that didn't really make sense, go ahead and check out the first live we did. But we're now going to get started. I know I took a while to get there, almost 10 minutes into the stream. But now we're starting today. Beginner tabla day 2. All right, now I just need to make this full screen. Hopefully that doesn't take another 10 minutes. It might. But, man, why is this being annoying today? All right, we're just going to leave it then, I guess. I wish there was another way I could do this. Okay, one last time. All right, there we go. I'm going to leave it here for a while. All right, I apologize. That took like 5 minutes to do. Okay. Beginner tabla day 2. Okay, so today we're going to start with talking about Teentaal. All right, I mentioned yesterday about Teentaal. We didn't talk too much about it, but Teentaal is a 16-beat cycle, and I'm assuming a lot of you guys know this. It goes like this: dha, dhin, dhin, dha, dha, dhin, dhin, dha, na, tin, tin, ta, ta, dhin, dhin, dha. Now, I know a lot of you guys want to just jump in and play it right now. But before we do that, we should cover how to clap to it. Yes, there is a way to clap to it, and I must admit, before this video, I'd forgotten how to do that. Here in the West, there's not a lot of opportunities to show people how to clap to Teentaal, but it's important to know. It really is, all right? So, anyways, I guess I have this camera too. So this is how you clap to Teentaal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 1. Now, you're not really necessarily supposed to go out the wave in the beginning, but it's all supposed to be 1. I'll do it one more time. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, wave. Now here, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 1. So like that. That's how Teentaal goes. It's not something I cover frequently or probably I've ever covered on this channel. So thank you guys again for letting me cover the basics. I learn a lot too. All right. So now we have dha din din da, dha din din da, na din din da, da din din da. Now this I did know. Okay. So what we didn't talk about is how to play din. All right. So we have din in here. And I didn't want to cover this all on day 1 because it would just be, whoa, like way too overwhelming. But there is one din that you play this way. Din. So I'll play it like this. So din, din, like that. This din is played here. Like that. Din. Like that. And it's played from the groove. The groove of your finger. So dha would be here. On the right here, din here. All right. I'll try to stand a little bit this way today. I may have to like lean to get to the mic, but this is how your hand should look. Dha and din. Dha, din. So the whole thing, dha, din, din, dha, dha, din, din, dha, na, din, din, da, da, din, din, da. Now, one of our teachers teaches a way to alternate on the baya on it. I'm not the biggest fan of how that goes, so we're not going to cover alternating on the baya yet for Teentaal, but we will come to that. All right. Next, you have to understand the Khali Bhari system. So this system, by the way, Khali means empty. Basically, it means without any bass sounds, without any baya, basically. Bhari means full, so full of bass sounds. So what you can see when you're looking at Teentaal right here is it's 2 lines with the baya. It has dha and din. Then there's na, tin, tin, ta, and ta is the same as na, basically. By the way, one thing is tin is the exact opposite of din. So this is din, and tin would just be without the baya. So tin. So let me play it like this. So tin. Just like that. Thin. Like that. All right. So that's how that's played. All right. So now we're going to go into, so Khali and Bhari, you guys, one more thing to explain. 2 lines of Bhari, 1 Khali, and then it smoothly goes back into more baya again. So just keep that framework in mind. Later on, it'll be important. All right. Okay. So now we've covered the Khali Bhari system. Next, there's going to be, for each composition, a main theme. And you're always going to come back to the main theme. And there's also going to be variations. So the way it'll work is you'll play the main theme, and then you'll play a variation. And then after the variation is done, you'll play the main theme again, and then you'll go to the next variation. The reason why this is done is because it gives the brain a familiar pattern to recognize. Without that, if you just played endless variations, there'd be no moment for relief. So playing the main theme in between the variations is what gives your brain a sense of relief. Namaste in the chat. All right. So we already recapped the basic bowls. Dha, na, tun, din, kat, te te, ge. We covered all these. One thing I should say is on the baya, there's ge this way and this. So one, this, and this, right there. So we've covered this. This is kind of a lot of technical material, or sorry, more theoretical material. Now we're going to get to some actual phrases. So these are some great phrases to kind of just start out with. These are all individual phrases. And we're just going to go through them one at a time. Just one at a time. So for that, I can zoom in a bit, make it a little easier. All right, this first phrase. Now, each of these you won't play once. You'll loop them again and again. So, tere kitte tak tak. So I'll slow it down. Tere kitte tak tak. Now, I just realized we haven't even covered tere kitte yet. We've only covered te te. So how would one play tere kitte? Now, I know we call this te te, but when you're playing tere kitte, this becomes te, re, ki, te. I know, that can be very confusing. You just learned it as te te, now it becomes te re. So that's why, forget really about reading the notes and completely understanding it. Watch how it's played, because that's how tabla was taught for generations, or maybe even like centuries, basically. It wasn't written, and now that it is, sometimes it provides more confusion than it does clarity. So, like this. So, te, re, ki, te. Like that. So, one time. So, te, re, ki, te. Now, taka, taka, ta, ka, ta, ka. Now, let me move a little bit again this way. So, again, te, re, ki, te, ta, ka, ta, ka. That's how you play the first one. Now, I'm going to play it just a bit faster. All right? So, te, re, ki, te, ta, ka, ta, ka. Te, re, ki, te, ta, ka, ta, ka. All right? Very, very basic phrase. Now, we have tere kitte naka naka. All right? So instead of taka taka, you'll have now naka naka. And by the way, guys, I'm not too great at spacing these all perfectly. I know these takas were together, but these nakas are separate. Again, I highly recommend just watching how I play these in the videos. Use the notes as a guide, but just follow along how I play. All right? So this is how this would go. So, te, re, ki, te, na, ka, na, ka. One more time. Te, re, ki, te, na, ka, na, ka. And one more time, I should play it like this. So, te, re, ki, te, na, ka, na, ka. Now, as far as the way the daya is positioned, it shouldn't be slanted. It should just be kind of just pointed forward. It shouldn't be to the side like I have it. When I set up all of this, I didn't think I'd be doing beginner lessons. So, you know, I like to space myself out, play from the side kind of. It has to do with my shoulder. I don't want to get too much into it. I feel more relaxed playing from the side. And for bowls out here, it's just way easier for me. So I set it all up like this. So if you frequently see me going like this and kind of like bringing my elbows together, that's what I'm doing. All right, I'm trying to make it so that when you watch this video, it'll make sense for you. All right, so that's tere kitte naka naka. Next, we'll do tere kitte naka 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 tere kitte, and there should be a naka right there. So that's the entire thing. Now we're gonna play this a little bit harder than the last one, but definitely doable. All right, so 3 nakas. So te, re, ki, te, na, ka, na, ka, na, ka, te, re, ki, te, na, ka. All right, one more time, just a little bit faster. Feel like I'm dragging down the energy of the stream, so a little bit faster. So te, re, ki, te, na, ka, na, ka, na, ka, te, re, ki, te, na, ka. All right, so that's that one. I probably should have highlighted that we were doing this one while I was doing it. Let me do this just one more time, just so there's no confusion what I'm playing. One last time, all right? This is how this goes. Tere kitte naka 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 tere kitte naka. So, like this. Te, re, ki, te, na, ka, na, ka, na, ka, te, re, ki, te, na, ka. So like that. All right, next, dha. Now, this is the first quick piece on when you see this. This period right here means there's a slight pause. And later on, you'll see a dash. That'll be an even longer pause. So, this will be dha. Tere kitte tak na. Tere kitte tak. One more time. Move the page by accident. All right. So, this is what? Okay. All right. Dha. Tere kitte tak na. Tere kitte tak. So, dha. Tere kitte na. One more time. Tak. So, dha. Tere kitte tak na. Te, re, ki, te, ta, ka. So, just like that. One more time. We'll play it. Dha, te, re, ki, te, ta, ka, na. Te, re, ki, te, ta, ka. So, that's how that's played. Now, we have this last kind of basic phrase. And we'll go to dha tere kitte tak tere kitte na tere kitte tak tere kitte. Right here. All right. So this also has that slight period right in between it. So it'll go dha tere kitte tak tere kitte na. Tere kitte tak tere kitte. And by the way, I apologize if you guys can hear my monitor shaking just a little bit when I play, but I'll fix that next time. So anyway, so dha tere kitte tak tere kitte na. Tere kitte tak tere kitte. All right, kind of dreary, but you know, it is some good warm-up phrases right there. This is exactly what every beginner should be warming up with. Pretty simple. Now, gege tete gege nana should be on here, but we already covered that yesterday, so I didn't feel the need to put that on here. But that should be on there. All right? Now, we'll talk about using powder. One thing about powder I forgot to mention yesterday, and if you guys have any questions in the chat about what I'm covering, feel free to let me know. Now, when it comes to using powder, don't ever take it and apply it directly on the tabla. All right? Always put it on something like, look, I have this that I apply the cover of the baya. I apply it on there, not on the baya itself. All right? That will ruin the skin over time. And I've just seen many tabla players dump a lot of powder. One comes to mind while I'm saying this, but I've seen them dump a lot of powder, and great way to ruin the life of your tabla. So definitely don't do that. All right. Don't also, if you've just started tabla and it's your first week or first month, do not try to tune yet. All right? Do not try to tune yet. Now, when it comes to it, honestly, this is probably another one of the drawbacks of trying to learn online. One of the biggest drawbacks is that you don't have a teacher that can tune your daya for you at this point. It's not a big deal. I say you keep going, and every now and then after a few months, you try tuning just a little bit. All right? That's what I recommend to do. Okay. So that's that. No adjusting the straps, no any of that. And yeah, we'll cover tuning at some point. Maybe in a while. No time soon should you be worried about tuning. If there is something to focus on, it's the positioning of the na. So focus on that for now. All right, pacing. We're going to cover a pretty famous kaida today. It's one that Ustad Zakir Sen plays as well. And it's really good for the hand, and it's actually even good for those that are advanced as well. I get some benefit out of playing it as well. So it's not anything so beginnerly, if that's a word. All right. And then after the kaida, if you guys have any more questions or want to send in clips, of course, there's that as well. I might as well pin in the chat that you can send in clips. All right, let me just pin this. And yeah, excellent. All right, so we now have that pinned and everything. Let's go over one or two things. My daya did not have balanced tune. Yeah. If you're just starting out, don't worry about that now. But there will be a certain point where, that should be a consideration. If you want, send me a clip of how you're playing. I'll tell you if you're ready to start tuning your tabla yet. Because, and I guess I should kind of do this. I could go grab one baya I had where this is actually kind of a good story. All right. I was trying to tune. Okay, so this is why you don't tune as a beginner. Quick story. Okay. I was trying to tune when I was younger, and I was hammering away like this, right? And guess what? I accidentally hit right here because look, with this, at least it's a bit lower. I accidentally hit on the skin and I broke right through. I still have that baya. I probably might go get it. If you guys want me to go get it, I'll show you. This is almost 20 years old, this baya, maybe at this point. And I broke right through it, which is why I don't want you to tune. Now, later I realized is when you are tuning the baya, you should turn the hammer like this. Turn the hammer. All right? And if you guys want to see that baya, just let me know in the chat. I'll grab it really quickly. All right? Okay. So, all right. Now to notation. All right. So you'll see a couple things in the notes that this parentheses times 2 means you repeat that phrase times 2. Nothing too complicated about that. A small pause is the period right here. A small pause. A longer pause is this dash. I guess I could zoom in a little bit more so you guys can see it better. All right. So X times 2 means to play it twice. This period right here means a small pause. This is something new, by the way, I learned. I only use the dash, but it turns out there's this as well. 1 and 2 above bowls means you alternate on the baya, meaning ga and ga. This being 1, that being 2. And the baya, the bass drum, and this is called the daya. I probably should have mentioned that, but I think you guys already know that. All right? Okay. So before we get into this is going to be a full-fledged kaida. Let's see if there's any questions you guys have, because once I'm in this, we'll be covering this for a little bit of time. And we'll probably cover, let's see, we're 30 minutes in, probably cover 4 or 5 paltas of this. It's a great kaida. A kaida that, to be honest, I always resisted practicing because there were so many flashier kaidas to practice that I never wanted to practice this. So don't be like me. Be more mature than I was. I was very young. Practice this one, even if you're just starting out. It'll really help you quite a bit. One of the teachers in our organization, they're practicing this quite a bit, and their hand has become so much better in terms of delicate balance, so many things. So just listen to me and really practice this composition. All right, so dha te te. And look, by the way, guys, te te is now spelled differently here. Okay? Dha te te, dha te te, dha te te, dha gi tunna kena. Now this is tinna. That's basically the same thing as tunna. So one more time. Dha te te, dha te te, dha te te, dha gi tunna kena. Now gi, ge, same thing. Tinna, tunna. Basically the same thing. All right? So that's how this is played. Now this is called the main theme right here. And if I played this entire thing, this would be the full main theme. Now, the point I'm going to make right here is an important one. So, if you guys remember, I just explained Teentaal just a bit ago. And what was Teentaal? It was 2 lines with the baya, 1 line without, and then 1 more line with the baya again. All right? So, if you look at this line with the baya, this line again with the baya, this line without, and then back to the baya again. So it follows that same exact Teentaal structure, which this composition, obviously, is in Teentaal. So it will follow that. All right? So the na part, or the Khali, ta ti te, which is basically na, ta ti te, dha ti te, dha ge, dinna ghena. All right? So I'm going to now demonstrate this slowly. All right. So very slowly. So dha, te, te. Let me get in the right position. All right. So dha, te, te, dha, te, te. Now here, dha, te, te. Now, one of the best things, one of the advancements that we've come up with is writing the baya notation in the composition. You no longer have to memorize that. All right? I don't know anyone else doing that, so that's just one thing I'd like to praise myself on. So one more time. Dha, te, te, dha, te, te. Now, dha, te, te. So that dhada is 1, 2. So one more time. Dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, ge, tun, na, ke, na. So tinna kena, tunna kena, same thing. So one more time, I'm going to play it. And I'm going to do slight modulations on the baya as well. Now, if you're just starting out, you don't have to do these, but they won't be too distracting. So, like this. So, dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, ge. Now, pay attention right here on the dha, ge. 2, 1. Tinna kena. Dha, ge, tin, na, ke, na. So just like that. Nothing too much to this. Although I will say, starting out, keeping track of all of this, the baya, everything, it is a lot. But here is where, if you're trying to learn just from tutorials, you will mess up. All right? You will mess up trying to learn this from tutorials here. Now, after I tell you, make sure not to mess up. I don't want you to mess up, obviously. Okay, so you'll mess up and there'll be so much going on, the na will not play properly. You'll be thinking about how do I do the baya? How do I memorize all this? There'll be so much going on. The use of a teacher will be that they will correct this. You'll play this here. You'll play this here. You'll lift this up, play na like this, which is not na at all. You'll make all these mistakes. So don't do that while playing this. if anything you can do is kind of play it once or twice, figure out the baya. Okay, for example, on da you play da. For dhage you play dhage. And then just stop looking at the baya. Don't look at it anymore. Just look at the daya and how well you're playing the na, the tun, the tete. Remember, tete is up and down like you're marching. Te. All right? Remember these things. Okay? So the whole thing will go, just the first part. Dha, te, dha, te, dha, te, dha, ge, tun, na, ke, na. All right? That's how that goes. This monitor is kind of bothering, but anyways, we'll be fine. Okay. So that's this first part. Okay. Now we have the second part, or the Khali, which goes ta, te, ta, te. Now the Bhari comes back right here. Dha, te, dha, ge, dhin, na, ge, na. All right, just like that. One more time, just the Khali. So ta, te, ta, te, dha, te, dha, ge, dhin, na, ge, na. All right, you guys with me so far? It's a lot. I know this is a lot right here. It can be challenging, this one. But just be patient with it. Be strict with your na, and you will get it. All right? It's not anything too out of the world challenging. There's a lot of tabla players that they start with this. Basically everyone. This is the first real composition that you kind of start with in tabla. And it's really good. All right? Like I said before, even Ustad Zakir Hussain plays it on stage, and people enjoy it when he plays it. So it's not like anything that, oh, people will start, covering their ears if you want to play this. No, it's actually a nice composition. Play it a little bit faster. So now let me stick with the full hand tete. So like that. So very nice composition. So we'll now, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. If not, we'll do a couple of paltas, maybe 3. We'll do 3 paltas, and then we'll call it a stream. And then from tomorrow, we'll pick back up on the rest and the tihai. Now, a palta is the same thing as a variation. It can also be called a bul. I didn't know this till recently about the word bul, but it can also be called that. Now, before we just go on to more and more paltas, one thing I will point out is that how does a palta work? Well, basically, the first variation is just taking this first line and playing it twice. That's really it. And then you go back to the main theme. So this format will make sense to you. But look, this is the first line of the main theme. Dha te te dha te te dha 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 te te dha te te dha dha. Now this is the main theme. I'll put a space right here. Dha te te dha te te dha dha te te dha ge tinna kena. That is the main theme that we just covered. Probably easier if I put it like this. All right? Now the variation. Ta ti te ta ti te ta 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 ti te ta ti te ta ta. Now the main theme. Dha te te dha te te dha dha te te dha ge dhinna ghena. Okay? Now this right here is an important rule to follow. Okay, so you have this composition. Now, you'll always play tunna kena before the Khali is coming. Imagine this is the Bhari right here. There's all these dhas and all this. Then the Khali is coming here, right? So this is one of the beautiful things about tabla. The transition to the Khali is smooth. So it starts transitioning here itself before the line even comes. So that's a very important thing. And by the way, if you guys look back at a lot of my videos, this is one rule that I didn't really follow much. I just cared about sound quality and playing. I ignored this, but this is actually beautiful. All right? So don't be like me. Don't ignore this. Follow this rule. Okay? So here, before the na part, right? This already starts right here. Now, you have the Khali here, the tate te tate te tata. Then the main theme comes, then dhate te dhate te dhadate te dhagi dhinna ghena. Now, why is it dhinna ghena? Because the Bhari is here. So before the Bhari starts, or there really isn't any Khali coming. So you just stay in the Bhari. That's why dhinna ghena is here and tunna kena is there. If you guys have any questions about this in the chat or it doesn't make sense, let me know, because this is kind of a very nuanced topic that I want you guys to really understand. All right? So we have that right there. Okay? All right. Now we just did the first variation or first balta. Let me just play the whole thing because I don't think we played all of it, but we might as well. All right. So this would be the whole first variation. Don't need to highlight this. Okay. So dha, de, je, dha, de, je. Now remember, the baya is not marked here. It is in the main theme. But on that dha, da, you'll do 1, 2. So dha, de, je, dha, de, je, dha, 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 de. Remember, it's played twice. So dha, de, je, dha, de, je, dha, dha. Now the main theme. Dha, de, je, dha, de, je, dha, dha, de, je, dha, ge, tun, na, ke, na. Now the Khali. Na or ta. Ta and na is the same thing. Na, de, je, na, de, je, na, 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 de, je, na, de, je, na, na, dha, de, je, dha, de, je, dha, dha, de, je, dha, ge, din, na, ge, na. All right. So that's how you play this variation. All right. So it's all just like that. So yeah, we have that one. We'll do 2 more and then we'll wrap it up because I just think this is too many bowls all at once. Just too many. All right. So let me just format this a bit differently really quickly. Okay. So this variation, let's just go back to the main theme really quickly. In the first variation, we took the first line and played it twice, right? This is the first line here. By the way, when you are playing this, take your time and really memorize the main theme, especially the baya notations, all right? Now, in the second variation, you're just taking this first portion of the main theme and you're playing it 4 times. That's basically what the entire variation is. And then you play the main theme, and then the Khali, and then back to the main theme with the dhinna ghena. All right, nothing too complicated. Okay? All right, so here we go. One more time. So, dha, de, je, dha, de, je, dha, de, je, dha, de, je, dha, dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, dha, te, te, dha, ge, tun, na, ke, na, ta, te, te, ta, te, te, ta, te, te, ta, te, te, ta, ta, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, dha, te, te, dha, ge, dhin, na, ge, na. All right, so nothing too complicated about this. You guys have questions, just ask. All right, so second palta right here. Should we just wrap up with this one? Maybe. Let's see. Let's just do one last palta, and then we'll wrap this up. All right, so this third one. So dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, dha, te, te. Actually, you know what? I think we should pause here at this second palta. Thank you, Dawood. Appreciate it. So the reason why maybe, unless you guys want to keep going, is basically when you guys are playing this is so much material to kind of go through and memorize. You may not be playing it on beat to start with. All right? So make sure, you get to the point where you're playing this on beat. And if you guys don't understand what on beat is, now that's something I can't really explain. It just means even spacing throughout everything. I'm sure most of you guys here, you understand what being on beat means. But you have to make sure the spacing is even. All right, with all of this. So play it evenly, even the palta and all of that. Then you can get to paltas that have a gap in it. Now, I will cover this just to kind of make the point, but that is what I mean. So this one would go dha te te, dha te te, dha dha te te, dha te te, dha dha, dha te te, dha te te, dha dha te te, dha gi tunna kena. Then the Khali, ta te te, ta te te, ta ta te te, dha te te, dha dha, dha te te, dha te te, dha dha te te, dha ge dhinna ghena. All right, so that's how this one will go. I might as well demonstrate it slowly one time, and then that'll probably be it. Okay, so one more time. So it'll go like this. So dha te te, dha te te. Can we use metronome for that? No, not yet. I think it's too early. I know you really want to bring out the metronome, but not yet. Not yet. There will be, trust me, there will be so much time for leras and metronomes and tabla once you get the hang of it that you will get sick of leras and metronomes, all right? In fact, I've even just stopped using metronomes or leras because I use them all the time. There wasn't even one practice where I wouldn't use a lera. And I just want to focus on the sound quality this year. So you will use the metronome at some point so much you will get tired of it. So not yet, just get the hang of how it sounds without the metronome at this point. All right, so dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, dha, te, te, dha. Okay, now doing this slow is a little bit more difficult, so let me speed this up just a little bit. So dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, dha, te, te, dha, te, te, dha, 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 te, te, dha, te, te, dha, dha, te, te, dha, gi, dun, na, ke, na, da, de, da, de, da, de. Sorry, let me see. Then how will we find spacing is correct? You'll have to learn it by listening. Even the metronome won't tell you if the spacing is correct unless it's in Teentaal. But let me just play this Khali part now. So da, de, da, de, da, de, da, de, da, da, de, da, de, da, de, da, ge, din, na, ge, na. Now, I'm going to play it one more time because I got a little bit distracted by the question. But, yeah, with the metronome, unless it's in Teentaal, it won't really help to begin with. So you don't have to worry about it just yet. But that is a good question. Very good question. All right, so one more time. This is the whole thing a little bit faster from beginning to end, this balta with the space. And one more time, just to remind you that this period here and here is just a short gap. A dash would be a longer gap. All right, so this is how this goes. So da, de, 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 da, ge, dun, na, ke, na, da, de, 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 da, ge, din, na, ge, na. Now, if you guys were paying attention, I actually made a slight mistake. On this dha, I didn't play the 1-2. So mistakes like that can happen. And just make sure, even though it's not written, you are playing the 1 and 2 right there. Now, I won't go through it all again, but that's basically a very famous and great practicing kaida that you should definitely play and get the hang of it. Now, I'll play it a little bit faster, just kind of mess around with it, with a different kind of tete. Basically, at this point, the lesson, we can call it, enough, unless you guys want more. But I'm just going to mess around with it a little bit and just show you the intricacies of the baya and how it goes. So So that's one way to play it. That's kind of by the book. Now, let's say I want to mess around even more with the baya. Not the way I just taught it, but a more kind of fancier way. You could play it like... like that. That's a kind of poor example of playing it fast. Maybe to some that don't know a lot about a tabla, it sounded good. But this tete, that weight was missing right there. So, yeah, that's basically, a composition. I'll go through it, just scroll through it a little bit. If you guys have questions, feel free. Feel free. Yeah, so what we covered today, we covered Teentaal, how to clap to it. Kind of important. Although here in the West, we don't, do that a lot. People will think we're crazy, clapping like mad people. But it is useful if you go to, a classical music concert. There's a lot of aunties you'll sit next to, especially in South Indian music. They have even another way to clap, but they'll be very particular about how they clap. And also, when you go to a concert like that, that's how kind of people that know music, they kind of distinguish themselves, that they'll clap, and they won't just clap, normally like this. They'll like really put their hand out so the artist can also see that, hey, it's someone that knows music. So I always found that strange. If I'm going to a program, I'll just kind of sit back and enjoy it. I don't need to clap in the artist's face. It seemed a bit rude to me always. Anyways, okay. So we covered Teentaal. There's 2 lines of Bhari, 1 line Khali, back to Bhari. All very smoothly done. Khali Bhari system. Of course, this PDF will be available. You guys don't have to worry. And then we covered the main theme and variations. All right. We recapped these bowls, dha, na, tun, dhin, kat, tete, and ge. We did all these beginner warm-up phrases, tere kitte taka taka, tere kitte naka naka naka, or tere kitte naka naka, sorry. This one is tere kitte naka naka naka, tere kitte naka. We did this one with the pause, dha, tere kitte taka, na, tere kitte taka. We did dha, tere kitte taka, tere kitte na, tere kitte taka, tere kitte. We did all this. We talked about not applying powder on the drum. Don't try to tune at this point. And we also talked about the notation. This means times 2, a pause, a hold. 1 and 2 meaning this and this, on the baya. We covered this kaida. And I mentioned this point that I find important is that there is so much going on here with the dhatete, all of this stuff, the number 2, the dhagetinakena. There's so much going on there that it is likely that you will make some sort of mistake on the na. And that's where a teacher could be useful to point out to you that, hey, you missed the na. Be strict about that. All right? Be strict. Be vigilant, too, about that. All right? Then we have the Bhari. We did the first balta, second, and third. All right? Tomorrow we'll do the 4th, 5th. Maybe we'll do something else for a day. 6th, 7th, and the tihai. A tihai, I'll just explain what that is. It's a piece that's played 3 times. You can see times 3. And it lands on the sum. And that's how you know it's finished. That's how you'll hear in most classical concerts, the piece is now done. All right? So that's this right here. Day 2 of learning tabla. Any questions, or it's been an hour? Should we just end it right here? Probably just play, for a minute or 2. Just random stuff. And then we'll call it a day. Might as well play Teentaal. So I guess that's it. No questions. Thank all of you for watching. Let me just check really quickly if we have any clips. Nope, no clips. All right. So that would be it, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, you can ask me in the next one. Take care, and yes, the PDF will be available. Goodbye.